Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to this Cap season ticket holder chat as we begin the offseason, what we hope will be a very short offseason. And the Capitals, of course, making some news just here in the last 10 days or so with the 19th head coach in Washington Capitals history, Peter Laviolette, being named to that position. And he is joining us here to chat for the next 30 or 45 minutes. So, Peter, first of all, welcome to Washington. It's great to have you. And I guess it's kind of been a wild ride here these last couple of weeks for you after a pretty quiet 2020.
Yeah, John, thank you. And it's great to be here with the season ticket holders and Capitals fans. I'm really excited to be here. It has been a little bit of a wild ride. 2020 has been wild, I guess, in general. And then, for me, really positive things in the last couple of weeks. So I'm really excited to be here.
You're a native of Franklin, Massachusetts, nearly 20 years in the National Hockey League with the New York Islanders, Carolina winning the Cup there, taking the Flyers to the final, taking Nashville to the final. In all of your time and now coming to Washington, what are some of the things that you've, I guess, gathered along the way in what have been some pretty quick turnarounds? In Philadelphia, doing it your first year, took a couple of years in Nashville, but the Predators getting to a height they had never gotten to. What are some of the things that go into some of those turnarounds in their previous stops?
Well, I've worked with some good teams and some good players along the way. And, it's been exciting when you get an opportunity to go into an organization. It's really a blank slate. And, I often find that guys want to come to the work. They want to come to the rink. They want to work. They want to have fun. They want to be successful. And, my job is to try and help create an environment where that can happen. And, since my first head coaching job in Wheeling, I believed a lot about the locker room. And, you're either going to work or you're coming to have fun every day. It's something that you love to do. And I've just made it a point to make sure that guys enjoy coming to the rink, that they work hard for each other, that they play the game hard, and usually that leads to success. So I'm looking forward to training camp when that comes and getting the opportunity to work with a really talented group of players.
Got a lot of people on the call and a lot of folks who submitted questions for you, and I certainly want to make sure we get to as many as we can. But in nearly 20 years in the game, Peter, and as mentioned, you take three different teams to the final, but this is a bit of a unique situation in taking over a team here that just 2 years ago won the whole thing in a pretty short window of time. Now you come in with essentially a lot of that same core. How do you approach coming into such a veteran dressing room with guys who have won fairly recently here?
Well, for me, it was an incredible opportunity. Just a couple things about that. I'm from the East Coast, and so this was the first time that I had gone to the West Coast, the Western Conference, to work with the Nashville Predators, and that was different. It was exciting to do that and to experience being part of the Western Conference. In the end, I grew up in Massachusetts. I live in Florida. My kids are on the East Coast, and our families, my wife's family, my family are on the East Coast, and I'm just excited to be back here. I've seen, the first three stops being teams that were in the East and on the Eastern Conference. For me, gave me a really good feel for most of the teams, most of the buildings, especially as a young coach coming in. I always loved coming into Washington. Fantastic city. The fans were always loud, and it was a great building and a great atmosphere to play in. So, for me, being a part of a team like Washington, who has experienced success, is a great opportunity. Personally, there's a lot of boxes that get checked, but from a professional standpoint, I'm walking into a building that has great ownership, that has a great fan base, and has had players that have recently experienced success in the playoffs. And, I can tell you from my own personal experiences, when you experience that success, you do anything to get it again. You do anything to experience that just one more time. And then when you do it one more time, then we can talk about doing it again after that. But that's just the way it is. And I feel like when you get a team that has tasted that and has touched that success and touched the cup and what it takes to win, you've got a group that's attentive and open to maybe new ideas and a new style and a new identity. So that's what makes it exciting.
A lot of fan questions will be a little more focused in the here and now, but one more from me as far as your background a little bit and getting to know you a little bit. I was in the American Hockey League in the late 90s, and I know that your first stop in the AHL with the Providence Bruins, you had a juggernaut that won the Calder Cup there. How did you get started in coaching to begin with? I mean, you were a player, you were an Olympian, you had a little bit of time with the Rangers. When did you first decide that, hey, maybe this coaching thing's for me?
Yeah. Well, the first, that year in Providence, because you brought it up, I mean, I don't know if we were a juggernaut. I don't know if teams and people picking the league and looking at the American Hockey League depth charts, they had a tougher year the year before. I think they won 19 games, and it was a little bit tougher for them. And we changed out, I think, 3 veteran defensemen, and I brought 3 players with me from the East Coast Hockey League, but a lot of the group was the same. But that's what I was saying before. If you can build something inside the locker room and get guys playing for each other and put them inside of a system where they're working hard and they're playing hard for each other and they're having fun doing it, anything is possible. And that year just really unrolled. But for me, getting back into how I get into hockey, get into coaching, I had played probably 11 years in the minors, and in my 11th year, it was Bobby Francis who asked me to be player assistant coach in Providence. And, we talked about it a little bit, and I had been one of the captains of the team for Providence. And, he said, well, do you have a passion for coaching? And I said, I have no idea. I don't know anything about coaching. I don't know what you're talking about. And he said, well, why don't you try it? And so for the first, up until Thanksgiving or so, I ended up playing an awful lot just because we had injuries and players were up in Boston. But it was about that time where I put a fracture on the outside bone in my leg down near my ankle, and I couldn't skate for a while. And we got a lot of players back from Boston, and they stayed for the rest of the year. And so I spent most of my time coaching at that point as an assistant coach for Bobby Francis in Providence. And when the season ended, I remember talking with Boston at the time, and there was an assistant coaching job open in Providence, but I knew at that point that I wanted to be a head coach. So I passed on that opportunity and I took the head coaching job with the Wheeling Nailers. And that was my first, real opportunity to coach. And, my wife was young, she was pregnant, and we loaded the U-Haul ourselves and we had to find out where Wheeling, West Virginia was. And my oldest son is a West Virginian. So he was born in Wheeling, and that's really the first job that we had. And then the next year after that, we went back to Providence, as you mentioned.
Yeah, there's not a lot between Pittsburgh and Columbus, except for Wheeling, I think, on I-70 there.
That's right.
Questions from fans, and gosh, we've got a bunch of them here. Let's start with Mary Lee Roebuck. How do you think your coaching style has evolved over the years? From the time that you were with the Islanders, you had that first chance in the NHL, you go to Carolina and win the Cup, Flyers, Nashville. That's a lot of time. How have you changed in that time?
Yeah. Constantly changing, constantly learning. I did some interview back when I first got hired, and we were talking about this, and I said, I can't believe how little I actually knew when I went to Wheeling. And, just being a head coach for the first time, and it was a great league. The East Coast Hockey League is a great developmental league for everybody, for staff, for managers, for hockey players, for officials, for coaches. It's just an incredible developmental league. And I was fortunate to get that job. But I think about going in there and not having any affiliates and not having any players. And I was in charge of everything, really, with new ownership who really bought the team because they didn't want to see it leave Wheeling. And together we were able to put something together that, towards the end of the year, we felt like we could be champions. We ended up losing in the conference finals, but it was just an unbelievable year. It was an unbelievable year for us. So, I think it goes back to what I said. I think just building those teams and being able to come into a team and especially early on, build that team and have fun. Let guys have fun going out on the ice and playing. That's what they want to do. So my job is to let them.
You mentioned this a little bit, but a question from Tony Mitchell. What are you looking forward to the most in regard to moving to the D.C. area, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia? You're an East Coast guy,
Yeah.
albeit from Massachusetts, but
Yeah.
I would imagine as an American living in the nation's capital would be a unique experience in and of itself.
So everybody's really excited about it. My wife and I are empty nesters for the first time. So everywhere we've moved along the way, we've always worried about the kids and changing schools. And, at first I was coaching to move up the ladder, and then I was coaching to get another job in the NHL. You get hired, you get fired, you get hired. So the kids are constantly moving, and there's a lot of stress that goes with that for a family, especially for my wife. And when you have kids that are in school. So for the first time, we don't have to worry about that. And, we can do city living. We can get a condo, we can get a townhouse. We don't have to worry about a school system or the doctors or whether there's any backyard or a cul-de-sac. We don't have to worry about any of that. And so it's pretty exciting. So we're going to stay real close to the Arlington Arena. I was down there this weekend, and we were house shopping, and we were able to find something that we really liked and put an offer in. And so we've secured that part of it. I think I'm a terrible golfer, but maybe on a good swing, I might be able to drive it and hit the ball and have it land in my front yard. It's that close. So we're excited about that, being able to just have the walkability of the city, walk to work, walk to restaurants, walk home. We're really looking forward to that.
Well, if you need somebody to feel better about your golf game, I'm your guy for sure. Joe Beninati will tell you that much for sure.
Yeah.
That you're a veteran coach. This is a veteran team. Underachieved last year, won the cup before that. What's your philosophy specifically with veteran players? You have a 700-goal scorer in your lineup for the first time, I believe, in your career. You've got Nick Backstrom, you've got TJ Oshie, the leadership core on this team, very strong. How do you as a veteran coach approach them philosophically as you come in here?
I think communication is always important. Opening up lines of communication to the captain. I feel like the coach and the captain having a good relationship is important, and being on the same page. And there's a good leader in place here, and there's a good leadership group in place here. My job is to communicate with them and also with the entire team. I feel like it's really important in today's game to make sure that you do that. But there's a lot of other things that, have to happen as well. And there's got to be an identity and a system that the players buy into. And there's got to be accountability to the way we play the game. There's got to be a standard on how we're going to operate on a daily basis. How are we going to practice? How are we going to prepare ourselves? How are we going to practice? How are we going to play in the hockey games? How are we going to take care of ourselves? And all of this are steps to get a team back to where they want to be, where our organization wants to be, our fan base wants to be, which is a deep playoff run and trying to secure the Stanley Cup. So I'm looking forward to working with these guys. They are veteran players, but like I said, they've tasted it. And when you've tasted it, you want to get back there. And so I also believe a big thing is just from a motivational standpoint, like every day coming in and like feeling like there's something on the line and being ready to play. And there's a lot of things that go into coaching, but I'm a big believer in motivation and getting guys excited and fired up. And I feel like it shows on the ice, and when it shows on the ice, it shows in the building, and then the building's back. It's a reciprocating. It's a reciprocating line that can go from the players to the fans in the building to generate that juice that you can actually see and you can feel it in the building. And our job is to go out on the ice and play that way and in that style. And I've been in Washington when that building's rocking. It comes right back down to the bench and they feed off of each other. That's pretty exciting when that can happen.
And be coming down the home team, we hope the home tunnel sooner rather than later. Fun one from Matt Sacco, who asked, what are some of the best lessons you've learned over the years that have made you a better coach? You mentioned the evolution before, and now with almost 20 years in the NHL, what are maybe some of those lessons you learned along the way?
I think one of the things that I've tried to learn as a coach, like the best lessons for myself, lessons are when you do something or you don't do something, and then you look back and you say, that was dumb, or that was great. You know what I mean? And those are lessons learned. They're like self-taught lessons. I think that there's a lot of them. When I show emotion, it's never scripted. It's never on a piece of paper. I trust what I see, and I trust my gut, and I trust my heart to make decisions on what I'm seeing and what's going on. And so I react to what I see. And I sometimes I think earlier maybe I didn't, or I reacted too much on things that I didn't see, and that I thought that that's what needed to be done. But I've just to trust your instincts a little bit more. For me, that was a self-taught lesson. One of the lessons was about I'll never forget, just managing the game, and, calling a timeout, for instance. When you think you need to do something, you need to do it. You can't, and there's only, how quickly the puck drops from whistle to whistle. If you think that there needs to be a line change, if you think that there needs to be a timeout, if you think you need to mix something up, then you should do it. And they probably go hand in hand. But those are some of the lessons I think you learn along the way as you coach more games throughout your career.
Getting to some of the roster, so to speak, and this with younger players. Christopher Jones asking, how big an opportunity will younger guys like Martin Feravari and Connor McMichael have to carve out a role on your team next season? Connor hasn't had a chance to play a game here yet, of course, but I think a lot of the fan base pretty excited about what he brings to the table. And the year he had with Dale Hunter in London, nothing short of spectacular. He's playing, 2 points a game just about playing for the Knights this year.
So when I was in town, I got my new computer, which now can be loaded on with games. And just today, I've started asking for some of the younger players that, I haven't seen as much of or any of, and just to familiarize myself with the way they play the game. And it's just video, but I think you can pick up an awful lot off of the video. I think young players are so crucial in today's game. You look at the teams that are hard to play against, that are fun to play against. They're loaded with young players. Now, we have a veteran team, but young players will get looked at, and they'll be given every opportunity to earn their spot on the team. There's certainly some skilled pieces in place with regard to the youth of the organization. And that's what training camp's for. They'll get opportunities. Just thinking back in my career just my last stop when I got to Nashville, we weren't a veteran team. We might be now. The Predators might have been, when I was coaching them, they might have been, 6 years ago, they were young. They were 22, 23 years old. Now they're 28 and 29, because when you stay somewhere for a bit, you watch the growth of the players. But what I see for us in Washington are good young players that can come in and make an impact into a veteran lineup. So that's what training camp is for. I'm really excited to work with those young players in training camp to see how they perform and give them an opportunity to make the team.
Laura Bannister asking a question, and I guess this is kind of an overreaching thing, but what do you want to tackle as your top priority heading into next season? I mean, you're doing a lot of, obviously, the things now, like for learning young players, what from scouting the Caps in the past, what a lot of the veterans are capable of, but obviously there was a bit of a fall off there. So what is your priority as you start moving toward next season?
So when a new coach comes in, I'm excited about the time that I have right now, just to, like I said, to watch some videotape or to get to know the staff a little bit better. I've been dropped into situations where it was mid-season and you don't know anybody. You're going into the first day and there's a game that night and you don't know anybody. And so the time that I have right now to just get to know the players and get to know the organization and get to watch some game tape and understand it, which I've done already a little bit. I think one of the more challenging things to do when you're a new coach and you're coming in is to really get that identity down on how you want to play the game. I don't think it'll be perfect in game one, but you hope through the course of training camp, and who knows even what that's going to entail this year with regard to training camp. How many games? Is there 1 game, 2 games? Is there 6 or 7 games? And so I think everything will become clearer in a little bit. But for me, training camp will be used to really work on that identity. I feel like if guys can be on the same page And for me, play an aggressive brand, like an aggressive style, an attacking style of hockey. And if they understand that and understand their role inside of that and where you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to be doing and how it works together, not just as individuals, but together as a team, those teams become really hard to play against. They can become unstoppable. And for me, getting that identity down in training camp will be a priority.
And I guess, given the world circumstances, and how much does having maybe a shortened camp, or as you said, a shortened preseason, I mean, I don't think anybody knows what that's going to look like, and we have no way of knowing, but that does create its own challenge a little bit.
It does. But, you know, I think because of the time that I've coached, you know, whether it be, I've taken 2 teams over midseason. So that was really one day of preparation. I got to speak to a team for one day, and then we dropped the puck and we started playing. I mean, I've gone to world championships, and I've gone to Olympics where you might have 3 days or 1 day or just a week to get things in place. And oftentimes I find that it's a work in progress. And so if it is shorter than it typically is or normally is with regard to training camp, you know, for me, we'll try to get the big pieces in place, and every day we'll try to add a layer. We'll try to get better at what we know and what we've learned, and then we'll try to add layers on a daily basis. But I have a feeling that we'll have time to put something in place and get ourselves ready. And the other thing too about it is, you know, everybody's in the same boat. You know, everybody's if we get 2 exhibition games, everybody's getting 2 exhibition games, and so everybody's going to be in the same boat.
Mentioned family a little bit. I know a little bit about your son Peter only because playing at Plymouth State, playing alongside Jake Sabrin, my partner Kenny, of course, on the radio side here. So I actually was watching a little bit of what was going on at Plymouth State even last year. Maybe tell us just a little bit more about your family, about your kids, and what they are doing besides hockey.
Sure. Well, I'll start with my wife. You know, like I talked about, when you move like I've moved, it becomes really difficult on a family. And the first moves are not to the NHL to become a head coach. It's to the East Coast Hockey League to a head coach here, to a head coach here, to an assistant coach here. You finally make it to a head coach. You get hired, you get fired. And there's got to be an anchor. There's got to be a rock of somebody who can ground your family and your personal life. And it takes a really strong person. And not only has she done an unbelievable job of raising 3 great kids and providing the support for me, she's done an unbelievable job of becoming part of a hockey team and really working to bond the organization more than just the players, and with regard to the staff and their wives and their spouses. She's done an incredible job inside of her charity and working with the organizations to raise money. And you know, she moves, and she moves just like I'm moving to Arlington. She's moving to Arlington. She's going to become a part of the Washington Capitals family, and everybody will get to know her. We're blessed. We got 3 kids. I told my wife, I like our kids now better than I did when they were younger. And we got 3 great kids, but you know, my kids are 18, 21, and 22 right now. And it's almost like you love hanging out with them. You know, when they're 12 and 13 and 14, we got 2 boys, you know, they move around. They can beat up the house or beat up the floors or beat up each other or whatever it is. And so you find yourself parenting a lot more. And I just love hanging out with my kids. We had a great summer. My oldest son is a senior at Plymouth State. He's the captain of the hockey team. He's actually trying out for baseball right now. He played baseball in high school and he missed it so much, so he hasn't played in 3 years, and he's made it through 2 or 3 cuts there. So you know, he's up at Plymouth in New Hampshire, and he loves it. My second son, you know, just a quick tidbit on him. He's down at Florida Gulf Coast University. There's a league called the ACHA, which is club hockey for college players. And some of the club teams are just okay, but some of them are really, really good. And so it's a massive league. They have 70 or so Division I teams. They have 150 Division II teams. They have 150 Division III teams. They have girls D1 and girls D2. And so it's a massive league that goes throughout the country. And down in Fort Myers at Florida Gulf Coast University, they have a really strong Division II program and a strong Division III program. So they have two club hockey programs. And so my son went there He tried out for the team his freshman year, and he made it. They ended up going, 28-3-1 in the regular season. Went to Columbus, Ohio, with 16 other teams to play for a national championship. In his freshman year, he was a national champion for club hockey. So out of 150 teams, they were club champs. I often say that, if my son playing club hockey played that first year, had played Peter's team in Plymouth, which is a real good Division III team, it'd be a pretty good hockey game. That's how good the club hockey is.
Wow. Well,
and he went back his second year, and they had a similar regular season record. Went back to, this time they went to Dallas. They go to NHL cities for the national championships in a 2-year stint. So the first was Columbus. Now it's in Dallas for 2 years. Went there as a sophomore, went with 16 teams. They ended up winning national championships again. So he was back-to-back national champion for the ACHA for Florida Gulf Coast University. So I'm really proud of him for doing that. He went back his junior year, because he's a senior now, and they had the same record again. They were ranked 4th or 5th in the country, and the tournament got called off because of COVID. So he's down there now, and another interesting tidbit, he just took his discovery flight, and so he's gonna try to get a pilot's license down there. So that's kind of cool as well. My daughter she's been with us all through Nashville, and we just took her to Boston College. She's a freshman. She's going to play softball for Boston College. She, funny thing about her, she's been going to hockey games since she was, probably since 2 years old, 1 year old, whatever it was. She was there, and she's watched the game. She loves going to the games. And so part of her college decision, of course, it was academics, and of course it was softball, but she wanted to go somewhere where she could watch a really good Division I hockey team that has a history, and BC is one of the best. And she wanted to go to a college where she could go and watch, big time football games. And so, BC plays Notre Dame, and they play Clemson, and so she's there. She's studying biology. I think she wants to be a biomedical engineer, and the kids are doing great. And like I said, I'm pretty proud of the kids, because of the way we had to move, and a crazy life at times. Despite bad parenting, they all turned out pretty good.
Well, we all look forward to seeing them along the way here in Washington for sure. Maybe around the holidays, or I guess when we go to Boston. I guess it begs the question. Obviously, sport's a big part of not only your life but your family's life.
Yeah.
Outside of hockey, what are some sports allegiances? I got to believe if you're from Massachusetts, there's got to be a Patriots or a Red Sox thing in here somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, we stay tied. It's amazing to me how loyal my family, not my family, not the close family, but extended family, and then even friends become. When you're hired somewhere, they drop the Bruins, because I'm from Massachusetts, and they hire the next team. And so they've all been online ordering their Washington Capitals gear. And but I always like to pull for the teams of the cities that I go to. I feel like that's my home, and that's my allegiance to be part of that community. And so we do that. We keep track of the New England teams, not the Bruins, because we don't care about them, but the Patriots and the Red Sox, we do watch them. And we live in Florida now, and so Tom Brady moved down to Tampa, and being from New England and Tom Brady and all that, we watch them a little bit. But typically my wife and I, we follow the local teams, because we're now part of the Washington DC area, so those are the teams that we're involved in. But I think growing up, it was obviously Bruins, Patriots, Celtics, and Red Sox, but those days are gone.
Well, but to that point, though, and with Boston doing what they've done, say, in the last 20 years, the last couple of years around here, there has been that positive energy, and it hasn't just come from the Capitals, because the Nats winning the World Series last year, you really felt like there was a fan base change where everybody around here is like, oh, well, the Caps are going to struggle, and they can't get by Pittsburgh, and the Nats couldn't get out of the first round, and the football team was having their struggles, and the Wizards too. But now it seems like that attitude has changed. How much does that feed into what goes on? You talk about the atmosphere in the building, but when you got a city behind you like that, I mean, you know what that's like in Massachusetts.
100%. Listen, when when you're behind your team, and that's why I talked about almost that reciprocate, when everybody feels that stuff, right? When it's going on and you're going to a game and the players know you're going to win and the fans know you're going to win, and then you go out and you dominate. That's the whole passion of sports, right? That's why we love sports. That's why we missed it so much for the last 6 months when there were no sports going on in the world, because it's a chance to get behind your team. It's a chance to feel good. It's a chance to cheer for something positive. And you're absolutely right about, the area. Like, there's been a lot of success, and that's I'm looking, like I said, I'm excited to come back here and just try to add my layer to see if we can't climb back up that ladder and create that success again.
A question from Craig Strent. What teams do you see as the toughest opponents in the Metropolitan next season? Seems like a lot of them these days. The Flyers.
Just tell me the easy ones so I can tell the guys, right? If you tell me the easy ones, then I'll just know to back off and everybody can just kind of cruise for the night. I've learned that there literally is, there are no easy games. Every game is a war and every game is a battle. And, I'm looking forward to coming back into this division. But I just left the division, and the Central Division was really tough. And every night you knew it was going to be a war and it's going to be a battle. So I just think it's league wide now. You look at just Dallas and what they were able to do to get to the finals. Like, probably not a lot of people picked Dallas, in the beginning of the year when they said, "Give me the two teams that are going to play for the Cup." But that just shows you that how good all the teams are and how competitive the league is right now. And so I know that we're in for some wars inside of our division, but when we get outside of the division, those games are still going to remain tough.
Oh, no question about that. You have John Carlson on your team now, a first-team NHL All-Star. Missed out on the Norris Trophy to a guy that you coached in Nashville in Roman Josi, but a guy who, one of the best offensive seasons in the NHL in a while, and the best of his career that he's coming off of. Seems like a pretty good place to start building.
Yeah.
When you're talking about the defense on this team.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just really fortunate to work with a guy like him. And you're right, the year that he had was pretty special. And I talked to him about it a little bit, and he's got so many talents, from his hockey sense to his ability to make plays. Just a terrific player, and those awards and accolades that you're talking about are well deserved. So for me, I'm really excited to work with him on the back end. And there's a lot of great talent on the team that, for me coming in, I couldn't be happier. Like I said, you want to come in and you want to build something, you want to create an identity, but it's great when the skill on the team is there as well. And there's no question that we have it, and we need to harness it inside of that system that I'm talking about, and that identity. And if we can, I think it can become difficult.
How excited are you to have Alex Ovechkin on your power play now coming into the season?
I've probably spent more time in coaches' meetings. This is the truth. We spent more time trying to figure out how to stop that shot on the power play. I would say, if you could ask just about any of that, give me one situation in the NHL that, as a coach, you've spent your most time trying to figure out how to defend. And I bet a lot of coaches would say that. And the minute you just go and hug Alex and don't let him shoot the puck, well, then there's too many holes and too many openings. So you have to play some sort of a system. Yet somehow that puck always seems to get over to him on the power play, and he's able to hammer it. And he's got a blistering shot. It seems to always be on the mark. And Alex and I joked a little bit. Like, I was a young coach when he came into the league, and I spent a lot of time in Carolina, and he was a young player in Washington at the time. And I said, I feel like I've been coaching against you forever. And he said, I feel like I've been playing against your teams forever. So we had a little bit of a chuckle about it, but we had a great conversation. And, this is what I'm talking about when I say, like, you talk to people and you talk to the players, and it's important for them to get back to a standard that they once you win the cup, that's all you're thinking about. It drives you. and the conversations were really good with the players. I haven't had them all yet. I plan on talking to all the players. I had to get through some of the staff and some of the coaches as well, and trying to buy a house and move from New England back to Florida, and so it's just been busy. But I will get to all the players. But my conversation with Alex was excellent.
An offbeat, or at least away from the ring question from Ann. I think it's Tim. I hope I got that right. What are you the most passionate about outside of work? If you're not doing hockey, what are you doing? What do you like to do?
Somebody did one of those questions with me. We're going to do that quick rapid fire. They asked me a question and I give the answer. And at the end of it, I think my wife came in and reprimanded me because I was so bad at it. Like I had no answers. They asked me the first question. I'm like, I don't know. Asked me the second question. I'm like, I don't know. This is going to be a really boring answer. I mean, I like golf. I like fishing. We have a boat down here in Florida. I love to be on the water. And so, all of those things. But I will tell you what my kids went to prep school in New Hampshire. And so they when we were in Philly, my son, he left right at the end of Philly. He left to become a freshman at Proctor Academy in New Hampshire. And a year later, my other son went to join him. And so at the time, my daughter was, middle school, maybe, 6th grade or 7th grade. And so she's been with us the whole time, but the boys are gone. And so it's kind of like college. You get to see them in the summers, but then they're training for hockey. So they might stay up and train in New England. My son had a job down in Fort Myers, and he didn't come home one summer because he was working at a golf course. And I miss my kids. Like I miss my family. The job is demanding. And so oftentimes I found the summer to be, a time for everybody to reconnect. And like I said, it's been great and they've turned out great. And I'm fortunate for that. But this summer was awesome. I mean, they came home, they came back to Florida because of the COVID, and they were in Florida when my daughter graduated in May. We came down to Florida. And so really it doesn't happen that much. I love spending time with my family, and they're at a great age right now. We just want to be around them and you want to hang out with them. And, last summer we went to Italy for my daughter. She played for a USA softball team, and we decided to make it a family vacation, and we landed in the southern part of Italy, and everything was planned for 12 days. And we saw a bunch of different things. And it was like a first vacation that we've had with our family. And that was awesome. So, while I like to do the things that I mentioned, I've really just enjoyed hanging out with my family in the off season and just being around them.
Well, I know that we're going to have a lot of time, hopefully soon, to be talking hockey and daily conversations on the radio side, and Joe and Locker on the TV side. And usually we would have had a press conference or something like with everybody in person. We missed out on that. But Peter, thank you so much for joining us here, for chatting with the season ticket holders, answering the questions. We're thrilled to have you here in Washington, and we look forward to dropping the puck and getting this thing going again. Yeah,
that being thrilled goes two ways. Like I couldn't have picked a better place. And I'm just really excited to be part of the Capitals family and the fan base. And it's just exciting for me. So my family and I are really looking forward to it. And hopefully we'll be back to the rink soon.
Hopefully we will. Head coach Peter Laviolette of the Washington Capitals, thanks so much to all of you who have joined us here on this Zoom call and submitting all of your questions. And let's go Caps. We'll see you at the rink. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.